Well, good evening, all. It's been a manic 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. Today's Sunday, the end of, pardon me, pardon me on that one, the end of AOC 2023 at Brendale here in Queensland. It's been a very hectic, manic 3 days working on the car and the electrics, not just by myself, but also for the other guys running TP's products down at the track for AOC. Very bad way to say things, but it was an absolute head spin trying to get the car, in particular the reason these videos have been made, to have it work on a surface that was insanely high grip for an asphalt surface. Everyone was having issues, not just myself, but guys in Formula 1, VTA, Mod, 21.5, you name it, everyone's trying to get something out of the actual chassis because the surface grip was way higher than previously expected. The tyres that were being used had a massive air gap, which made it even more difficult trying to get consistency out of setups because there was so much movement on the carcass. Whatever you tried either worked or failed miserably, and in about 80% of circumstances it failed miserably. In the end, after much procrastination, reading notes, going through texts on setup and everything else, plus also the fantastic help of Jordan Hunting, one of my team drivers in Mod, I settled on a setup on Saturday night for Sunday to actually run the car and get some sort of performance out of it. And I did, and I'm happy to say it worked an absolute treat. And not wanting to try and push the envelope to try and do the fantastic 16 lap pace that everyone in A.B and half of C was doing, but just try and be consistent. If I had a good chance of getting the lead and holding it for the duration of the race, has actually worked out. Saturday, the car was really difficult to drive, very taily, still way too much grip at the front, but not as much it was on Friday. Saturday, able to calm it down quite significantly from the previous video. As I said, Friday the car was great because it was consistent grip, but because the sun came out Saturday, a lot of stuff changed. It was still high grip, but it was inconsistent in some areas. So trying to find a balance was the biggest problem. Even known drivers in Mod were having issues and driving on tippy toes trying to get the car around. So it was a big hit and miss on what they were trying to do. In the end, on Sunday morning, I should say, tried to two simple changes to the car from Saturday, where it was sort of drivable but just on the edge of being tippy. Was suggested by Grant and Jordan go slightly wider on the front by 0.4 mil either side, which I did on the front, worked a treat. And the other thing was taking, and as I whip out the car, taking the screw out of there. So in other words, the little screw, the shoulder screw that sits there just behind the actual motor, I took that out. So I still had everything as per Saturday evening, which is the screw out the front here, putting the screw in the front here, and also locking up the front with all the screws. All I did was take that screw out and widen the track, and awesome. I was able to drive the car, and in my final, easily win the first final. There was some challenge, but due to some very hectic driving by a couple of the drivers, they took themselves out of any contention, and I just drove to survive that first final, which I was in, and I won it, which was really good, and clocked one lap more than I was able to do previously without having to push the car. If I pushed, who knows, I would have done 16 laps. In the first, I think, three laps it was on a 16 lap pace, but then because I felt comfortable that I was able to maintain a steady pace, 15 laps is what I finished on, which is fantastic. The car worked far above expectations to what I thought it would, with those two changes, and it proved its performance, making me less nervous trying to drive against guys that are more, acclimatized to the actual track at Brendale. But it worked a treat, and it was literally taking out that screw that sits there, adding a slightly wider track on the front by 0.4 mil either side from standard. Standards are 4.5 hex, and I just added 0.4, so realistically just under 5 mil hexes on the front. Worked absolutely brilliantly. So Brendale is, was for the weekend and 4 days we were there. Thursday was free practice, Friday was open practice and seeding, and then Saturday was qualifiers, and Sunday was basically racing. It is a very, very high grip, high speed circuit, and the car's got to be balanced to be able to take the parabolic, which is at the end of the main straight. Main straight, you've got a banked section going right around into a hard right-hand hairpin, and if it's not set up, your car's going to be all over the place. But I got to say, the MTS MT3, the conversion version, this one is with a single mount, with the pit lane long arms and chassis to suit, but everything else is pretty much standard as an option from RACE-OP, which is the alloy shock bulkheads front and rear, the single piece mount bolted only on the front, and obviously the Shoemaker, which is an option that we have done ourselves with a lot of the guys overseas. Just protects the front end and a knuckle from actually braking. The car worked an absolute treat. Very little need to do to the car to make it work. Just as I mentioned, those three things, and basically went out and came second overall in the second final with a comfortable lead from third. Number one driver got an absolute whole shot and just went. Very hard to try and catch him and stay with him, so just happy to just hang around in second and cruise until the end, and comfortably took another 15 lap pace away out of that, which is really, really good. So happy to say everything worked wonderfully. I'll post up the full setup of the car in the next few days on the spreadsheet on the Facebook page. It'll actually handle high grip without any issues, with very little work on it with this particular version. Now I dare say if you had the standard double row motor mounts and the carbon towers, with these changes it'll be pretty much the same. Tyres will obviously be critical where you run, whether it be indoor or outdoor, as we found out with these ones. I found that on my circumstances, the tyres were better not heated up, but just cleaned and gooped, and that's it. Chuck the tyres onto the chuck the car onto the track. It stopped it from traction rolling straight away on the entry into a very small high-speed corner, and a big sweeper off the straight, so it made the car less nervous off the start and was more consistent over the 15 minutes. Massive grip to the point that the wear on the front and back of the car is identical in the amount of stuff that's thrown up, as you can see there, front and rear. Okay, that's equal rubber swarf that came through. So I haven't cleaned that, which I should have, but I didn't, so I do apologise for a messy body. But really happy to say it worked. It was fantastic. The comments that came back were very, very positive. I was the only one there running this particular chassis. I was the only one that this without any factory support, which proves a point you can do it yourself. If I dare say pushed harder, I would have possibly done 16, but that's just old news. But happy to promote the car with the changes, and the new version that's coming out, we'll get that soon and play around with that and see whether or not it's good as it is out of the box, or if we can just give it the treatment that we've done on this particular one, which is the 2020 version with the two conversion options on it and long arms. The long arms did make it more plush. Thanks for your time. I will actually put the listings for the speed settings, speed control settings that I had, and also the setup of the car in the next few days, as I said. But look, it's 9 o'clock at night time. I had a shower, had a feed. I'm tired. I'm going to crash very soon on the bed there. Take care of yourselves, take care of your family. I'll keep you informed of all the other stuff that's been happening, what we're doing, what we're heading into, what we're trying to do with the car, more races coming up, and more testing on variable things and bits and pieces. So good night, everyone. Take care of yourselves, catch you on the fly, and next race meeting is in about a week's time. Report back then. Take care. Have a good night, and I'll catch you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.